Hello everyone. Are are you able to see? Okay, can we start? Hello everyone. Are you able to listen my voice? Are you able to hear my voice? If you are, then can you just please type yes or no? Okay. So I would like to start my session, which is the newest term in manual therapy, which is regional interdependence. And before starting this, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Naveen, and I am the head of department of physiotherapy at Jindal Institute of Medical Sciences, which is a 550 bedded multi-specialty hospital here in Hisar, Haryana. I am also founder and head instructor of Elite Manual Therapy Institute. And at Elite Manual Institute, we are trying to develop some new concepts under the old roots of manual therapy. So I am a certified chiropractor, I am a certified manual therapist and manipulative therapist, and some sort of other certification in NKT, neurokinetics, and kinesiotaping. So, before starting the whole session, I would like to see in does anyone feel stuck with poor outcome while they are treating their patients. I'm watching the comment section. I want to know, are you people having problem even after doing your best for a patient, and you are not able to find a good outcome even after your best effort. Have you seen such conditions? Okay, I will come on the PPT. Thereafter, I will go live for the question answer session and try to elaborate more about it. Okay, so there are Shreya Prakash and Sakshi Dhawan has said written on the wall that they they face this sort of problem with their clients. So why this is happening? What could be the reason for these sort of poor outcomes even after doing your best? So the first reason may be the current biomedical model. Okay, so this biomedical model has been a leap forward in the development of medicine to eradicate, reduce, or manage infectious disease throughout the decades. But this biomedical model does not appear to be equally well suited for managing most of the common musculoskeletal disorders that we deal. Okay, maybe this biomedical model is good for the medical conditions, but for musculoskeletal disorders, it is not the best one. Okay, the problem with this model leads to the poor clinical outcome. Okay, you need to understand what the current biomedical model is. The current biomedical model used to focus on a single pathological structure or a single pathological finding, which means if somebody is coming to you with knee pain, so you are just focusing on the knee. So the single pathological finding in the knee can be ACL injury or the meniscus injury, or the single pathological structure that is involved in the current situation of the patient with the knee pain may be the ACL or menisci. So this current biomedical model has a limited scope. Okay, so this limited scope can lead to the poor outcome. We are just focusing on the local situation of the patient, but we are not looking the patient as a global one. So that could be a reason for your poor outcomes even after giving your best one. Your comments. So population as such, but I assume dystrophies would be on the list. Okay, not yet encountered that. That's good. Krishna Rajput is a good physio then. Okay, yes, sometimes. Yes, sometimes. Why use the regional interdependence model? Okay, Uzma Khan, I am coming to the reasons why we should adopt the regional interdependence. But before this, we need to understand the current problem with the poor outcomes. So first reason can be the current biomedical model, which is just focusing on the single pathological structure or single pathological findings. One example I did with the knee. Another example can be your low back pain. So if patient has a low back pain, you can easily jump on the PIVD, okay, or the sacroiliac joint as such. But this can be the single finding, not a global finding. Okay, this could be the one reason. Then I am coming to the next slide, which gives you a biopsychological negligence. Okay, usually we think these are a yellow flag sign, so definitely they are yellow flag sign. But along with the yellow flag signs like depression, traumatic stress, anxiety, fear avoidance beliefs, catastrophizing, and negative emotion, there are two things at the last, which is subject's expectation, which is not a yellow flag sign. Okay, the other thing is clinician attitude. These two things along with the yellow flag sign may interfere with the prognosis of your treatment or prognosis of your patient condition. Okay, if the subject is expecting too much from you, then it can also be a problem. Or if a subject is expecting like मैं कभी ठीक नहीं हो सकता, तो that can also be lead to the poor outcome even after giving you the best efforts. Okay, and the clinician attitude can also put negative or positive implication in the prognosis of the. Does anyone know about the regional and ethical conflicts? Okay, how do regional interdependence evolve, sir? Okay, I am coming to the evolution of the regional interdependence, and now I'm coming to the third factors that can be that can lead to the poor somatovisceral, poor outcome in your clinical region. The third thing is a somatovisceral system at the edge. We usually deal the somatovisceral condition as a red flag sign. Okay, so somebody has a somatovisceral problem, refer to the clinician. So these sort of problem can also lead to your poor outcome if you are not assessing them. Okay, cause the somatovisceral problem can cause referral pain that can mimic to a musculoskeletal pain. Okay, the example can be pain in the right shoulder can be because of the disorders in the knee, and pain in the left shoulder can be due to the disorders in the cardiovascular system. Okay, or urogenital problem can also lead to lower back pain. So these are the common 3 or 4 examples of somatovisceral system that can mimic musculoskeletal pain. Okay, so what is the solution to get good clinical outcome? So before jumping to this answer, let's start with the past. Okay, from past, in 1944, Inman and Saunders stated that pain could be experienced over a considerable distance from the site of local lesion. Means पेन लोकल रीजन से कहीं और भी फील हो सकती है. ये 1994 में इनमैन एंड साउंडर ने फाउंड किया. देन इन 1959 स्कॉलमस स्टेट दैट baseball pitcher with an injured toe or foot can lose effectiveness of the shoulder joint. That means your ankle and shoulder is also linked. They found in 1959 they wrote it. Okay, then in 1977 Erhard and Bolling stated that dysfunction in any unit of the system will cause delivery of abnormal stress to the other segments with the development of a subsequent dysfunction. So till 1977 researchers come to a point like pain can be coming from the remote area which is not local to the recent one, or your ankle and shoulders are connected, or a dysfunction in one system can lead to dysfunction in the other system. So in 1977 people had this thing in their mind. In 2001 Weiner et al observed that regions of the body appear to be musculoskeletally linked. Okay, then in 2007 Weiner et al constituted the concept of regional interdependence. So basically the first author to wrote about regional interdependence are Weiner et al. Okay, he stated that unrelated impairments in a remote anatomical region may be contributed to or can be associated with the patient's primary complaint. Someone is typing why use the regional interdependence model. I'm coming to that reason. First reason is if you adopt regional interdependence concept, then your clinical outcomes will be much more better. So till 2007 we got this regional interdependence concept. So what could be the best benefit of this concept? So previously in the previous biomechanical model we are just focusing on a single pathological source or finding, but after that regional interdependence, which uses pathoanatomy at a starting point and expand the research to look for the factors that may be contributed to the patient system, then this RI concept can eliminate the dichotomy of having to choose between a biomedical, neurophysiological, biopsychological or somatovisceral model. So that means in RI system these all systems of the body are interconnected. So this provide a framework to incorporate an expanded focus. That means your assessment should be focused not only on the remote area but also on the structures that can be linked to that area. Okay, so of RI at present, clinical benefits of RI at present. Conceptual benefit was explained in the last slide. That means it gives you a framework to incorporate a expanded focus on the human body. So what are the clinical effect of RI at present? So researchers have found that if your treatments or intervention which are aimed at the hip joint can be used to treat low back pain or knee osteoarthritis. That means if somebody has a knee osteoarthritis, you should also going to treat his hip and low back. That can give you a good result. Then intervention aimed at the cervical spine have been used to treat the lateral epicondylitis. Okay, this is the common treatment nowadays. If somebody is having lateral epicondylitis, you should also going for the neck. And the third use of RI at the present is if you treat lumbar spine, then it can also help in the treatment of hip pain or knee pain. How can we recognize somatovisceral pain? Somatovisceral pain recognition is slightly different, Mr. Shafiqul Rahman. So let it be put. If you should also look for that. If there is a pain which you are treating but still hanging on, suppose the left shoulder pain even after your best effort and there was no negative sign, your and patient attitude is good and still it is there, then you should look for the cardiovascular assessment, which should be done by a proper professional. Okay, Neha Dalal was asking, can we have to focus on psychology of the patient for sooner recovery? Yes, definitely you should. You peer avoid questionnaire or the pain assessment performer for qualitative study of the pain. Major somatovisceral pain that mimic musculoskeletal pain. Some of the example I told you, Miss Saloni Jindal, like if somebody has a left shoulder pain, it can be associated with your cardiovascular system, and if somebody has a right shoulder pain, it can be because of the liver, and if somebody has a low back pain, it can be because of the renal caliculi, or it can be because of the altered menstrual cycle of a female, or urogenital problem in male also. Miss Neha Panja was asking how to differentiate. I already answered that. Somatovisceral and musculoskeletal pain are very hard to differentiate. The only thing is, like, if you are giving your best, the patient attitude towards his pain is good, your attitude towards patient is good, and still you are facing that problem, the pain is not going, and it's still there, so then you should also going to check for the somatovisceral, which is done by a professional. Okay, and so some of the common example for the somatovisceral pain are, these pain are more in the night during the rest time. Coming back to my next slide. Okay, which is regional interdependence at present. So we discuss about if we touch lumbar spine, what will happen, if we touch hip, what will happen, if we touch neck, what will happen. But there is a there is an area of the body which was neglected from decades, which is your thoracic spine. Okay, so the recent researches have given us the conclusion of, if you treat thoracic spine, it can reduce neck pain, especially the upper thoracic spine mobilization or flexibility enhancement can increase the neck flexibility as well as reduce neck pain. Then treating the upper thoracic spine can also result in good improvement in shoulder impingement syndrome patients or our upper quarter pain syndromes. Now the fourth, fifth and sixth results are from my study at which we did at Elite Manual Therapy Institute. If we treat or say manipulate the thoracic spine or mobilize the thoracic spine, there will be increase in SLR bilaterally. Okay, we didn't touch the lumbosacral plexus, which is the main contributor to the lower limb neurodynamics, but still we found increase in neurodynamics after treating the thoracic spine. We didn't touch lumbar, we just touched the thoracic spine, and it results in improvement in bilateral neurodynamics of the lower limb. Then in the another study we did the same, but now we are focused. We treat the middle thoracic spine, which is T5, T6, T7. We manipulate that, and there were increase in hamstring flexibility, which is not unilateral but it was bilateral. Okay, then the third result from our study was, there were increase statistically when I was saying increase, it was statistical increase. Okay, so there were raised abdominal endurance after treating the middle thoracic spine. Okay, so your thoracic spine is also linked with your abdominal endurance, hamstring flexibility, lower limb neurodynamics, along with the neck pain, shoulder pain, and upper quadrants pain syndromes. So at present, these results are going to say, you are going to conclude that your each part of your body is connected somehow or other way. So when you are dealing with a musculoskeletal problem, you should look for the global assessment of the patient. Okay. Then what could be the future of this regional interdependence concept? Okay, first and second one very simple. The future can be validating the study that are already exists. Like I am saying with my research, there is an increase in abdominal and endurance. You can also recheck this conclusion of mine. Or when I was saying there is an increase in bilateral neurodynamics, you can also check whether I was saying it right or wrong. Then explorating the study to establish potential new relationship in the musculoskeletal system. At this point, I would like to share one of my study which was not just a complete failure. Me and my colleague, Dr. Shalu, we did a manipulation on the C0, C1 and C2 level. Then we checked the force expiratory volume and force inspiratory volume of our subjects. Then in that study, the FERV and FIRV were raised. Both inspiration and expiration volume of the subjects have raised, but statistically it was not up to the mark. Okay, so this, you can say it can be a failed study, but we tried to establish a new relationship between the C1, C2 and C3 and the diaphragm. Okay, then the third important point for future of the RI can be, we should look for the potential of neurophysiological, biopsychological or somatovisceral systems influence on the musculoskeletal function both locally and remotely. So some of you people were asking how to differentiate between the somatovisceral and the musculoskeletal pain. I tried to answer it. I am not a osteopath who is doing cranial or visceral manipulation. So for this particular area, I don't have answer, but I can contribute my concept that this area can also lead to the poor outcome of your clinical practice. Okay, so if somebody who has a good knowledge of somatovisceral system can associate somatovisceral system with the musculoskeletal system condition and come up with their researches, so this can be a new and good future for the physiotherapists and all the manual therapists who are practicing this area. Okay, so at the last, I would like to quote my thanks to Dr. Ravindra Kumar Mudgil and Dr. Manoj and all his team to put efforts into this Webicon 2020. And with this, I would like to end this session with two lines, which is ख्वाब पूरे होते हैं, ख्वाब पूरे होते नहीं, ख्वाहिशें जताने से किनारे उसी को मिलते हैं जो साहिल से लड़ना जानते हैं. So with this, I would like to end this PowerPoint session, and I will come up live next to this. So thank you very much for joining my session and for your good comments and session. So I'm coming live for 5 minutes for your question and answer if I can answer that. Okay.